Thank you very much for this introduction. It's a really great. Time passes really fast, and it's good when we are active, worldwide, not just within our bubble, just doing our research and sharing all this knowledge. So I'm going to start a little bit as an outline, a bit like what is ecology and how that is actually related with climate change, how education is related with this, what actions we're actually taking on that awareness, and what is the role that is contributing to all this kind of process informing regarding sustainability, and maybe a take-home message that hopefully everybody is going to keep in mind. I've been informed about the past presentations. There's a very interesting research regarding the production, regarding how we can actually improve all the products that we're getting, some lines for the potatoes, tomatoes, and things like that. Very interesting information. But what I'm going actually to show here is what is going on a little bit on a micro scale, and we are aware very well about this. So does this climate change actually occurring? Because some of you at the audience might be a little bit reluctant on whether we are actually experiencing climate change. What I really say also to my students is, okay, we might have some doubts, but undoubtedly we do experience everybody an increase at the temperature. So this is a fact. This is something that we have to deal. And this increase at the temperature really have some very abrupt results regarding our ecosystems. We have experienced many of those changes, some alterations at the hydrological cycle, and we do have some very negative outcome results, not only in Greece, not only in the Mediterranean areas, but also worldwide. So we do have intense disturbances phenomena that occur, and those frequencies and the larger extent that they get really have very negative outcome. In Greece, for example, if you can see it here at the photo, we do have very intense fires. And during those periods of the dry summers, this phenomenon really increases more. So we do face quite a fair amount of regeneration problems, because this is the whole thing, regenerating our ecosystems in a natural way. But those fires that don't occur only in Greece, but worldwide, there is another outcome that follows up after that, and this is mainly floods. In Greece, we have experienced many floods, and it's not just the floods and we're losing productivity based on this, but it's also losing people, many fatalities that are taking place here. So this is in area at the northern part of Greece, close, mid area of Greece in Karditsa, and this is just a small view of what is going on. So I'm here to show you some of what is going on and what we do actually re-educating regardless. So we do have Mediterranean ecosystems. Some of you might think that those ecosystems are very stable. It's not so hard to regenerate them. Nonetheless, they occupy 2.5% of the whole area worldwide. Yet, though, they have 16% of the plant species that occur within those ecosystems. Some of us might have in our minds that the priority is the rainforests, undoubtedly. But if we think that at those areas, we have the rainforests and 50% of those areas have been preserved, considering those really high diversity ecosystems of the Mediterranean sites, that only 1/8 of those sites are really preserved. And you can see from the photo the distinction at the vegetation levels that they occur in each ecosystems. So maybe you are, the audience might be in area of rainforest, some of you in Mediterranean. Nonetheless, a lot of those ecosystems needs to be preserved. And when we're talking about Mediterranean ecosystems, it's really very important to see why it's a necessity to safeguard them, and what we really need to do and take action in order to preserve those ecosystems and alleviate those potential negative outcomes regarding the climate change. And considering Mediterranean ecosystems, they are producing a lot of many products, olive oil, and so many other citrus species, etc., etc. So what do we actually have there? So what do we do about this? Based on my experience, I am a forester. I'm an ecophysiologist dealing with sustainability. Nonetheless, I've been specialized in seedling production and conservation of those ecosystems. So I've taken this experience from the seed level until we are actually producing those seedlings and how they can help those ecosystems. Educate is the answer. We really need to educate everybody worldwide. We need to educate at a local level, starting from our sides in order to do that. And why do you actually need to do that? Some say, yes, education is very important. It's very important, but we really need to understand the structure and the function of those ecosystems. And once we understand how they're working, then we are able to sustain and manage them for a long term. This is the only way, by understanding it. Otherwise, we do many mistakes, we could say, irreversible sometimes to the ecosystems, because profit sometimes tops up everything. So this is what we do. I've been, as the moderator here introduced me, I've been involved in many international projects, and some of them we do teach the methodology at the student level, okay? So this is from an international project that is dealing with the Black Sea area, where you see the runoff plots. We use that to our students to educate them in the class, okay? Here you can see some stream bank erosion pins that we are having at our plots, and we show them how this methodology can actually give some very handy research outcomes. And of course, we teach them how to do that, how we can actually use a protocol and implement that protocol in the best possible way in order to get some very good results. Because sometimes managing ecosystems is a holistic area. It's not just what I produce, but by producing what I do is how it affects the immediate environment. So studying this immediate environment, this really research that we have conducted is showing me how much soil I might use based on the land use that I have. So we don't teach them only the research, but we get into the handy research outcome. As you can see here, one of the comparable land areas, land uses is rangelands. Many of you have pastured areas at your sites. So we're trying to see how pasture, vegetative pasture, adjacent with the practices of grazing, how that affects really the loss of the soil. How agricultural land really affects the loss of the soil. And here you can see with just one measurement that we're losing almost 11 centimeters of soil. This is a lot. This is a lot of soil losing in just one short period of time. Sclerophyllous vegetation. We can see here the numbers that they're similar. We show those results to our students. We don't just stick with the methods, how to do things right, to measure things correctly, but also how that really comes to the outcome and what really information do I get and how I can actually benefit by using the riparian vegetation. And the riparian vegetation, as we can see here, it minimizes at least by 80% the loss of the soil. And this is very important to show them that this is how we can actually sustainably manage agricultural areas that they are adjacent to riparian sites by maintaining the riparian vegetation. And now looking at this holistically, you can see the numbers, how they're changing. So they are getting hands to the information for the experiments macroscopically, microscopically to the sites, and see how that results can actually get the take-home message on how we can manage those agricultural areas, how we can manage those sites in order to maintain as much as possible soil, because soil is the medium for any kind of production. Now, what else? Do we do what else? Okay, we see the methodology and some of the results, but what we really do is not just what we do here. You can show me and I can show you anything I want from the research based, but it's very important for somebody to go out there and experience the structure and function of those ecosystems. Everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's talking about these online meetings. And it would be great for me. It would be even better if I could actually come to this meeting. In person doesn't change, and when it's the importance of in-person activity is something different than what we have right here. So getting students outside, it's something different. So what we do, we try to take them to those areas, and we try to make them experience what they're after. In one of the courses that I teach, this ecology, we're dealing with many different topics. And if you follow my LinkedIn, I even post some of the best outcomes based on the students' homeworks. They're doing an excellent research to pose some of the problems that we're facing worldwide. So here is the Nestos River area. This is Greece, the northern part of Greece. So we're taking them to the delta, and this is a Natura area, also a Ramsar area. So it's very highly preserved. They are getting experience of these beautiful ecosystems. So I'm trying to get them there and see not only the beauty, but also how we can sustain that ecosystem and what might be some potential problems that we're facing at those sites. So for this area, we have a historic species, Quercus robur, based on the history of those sites. So they were trying desperately to preserve that species. What did they do? They tried to fence that area and restrict any kind of activity of grazing, any kind of human intervention, and any kind of other external input on that side, thinking that this will actually help the regeneration of that ecosystem. This is the students that are getting into the restricted area. We usually take the forestry department permission to go there because nobody's allowed, okay? So what they experience, we actually were in a Mediterranean ecosystem, but because there was no activity at those sites, we're getting into a jungle. We can't even get into the site and sample the one unique tree that it's the mother tree for any kind of regeneration that you could have that site. So it's problematic. What we're trying to do there is try to see, do we have any regeneration? And what you see, the greenies right there, is not regeneration. It's not Quercus robur. It's another species that has invaded in there just because we don't have the impact of pasture. We don't have the impact of human intervention. So instead of getting things better by fencing those sites, they're actually making them worse, because monitoring those sites is very important. We don't post something and we leave it to grow. We just have to monitor scientifically all those sites. Plus, at the adjacent sites, because there's human intervention, we do have invasive species that they're taking over the sites. And let's not think that fencing is going to keep those species away from their preserving. Okay, this is not going to happen. So we really have to be very careful how we need to manage that. And the students are learning about this. The students are getting informed. The students are going to the sites to be informed about the structure and the function of those ecosystems. Very important. They're getting hands to some centers. Centers are doing a very great job as far as we use them the right way. Getting their hands to equipment, how we can actually measure those ecosystems, how we can evaluate, how we can study those ecosystems to learn some very important things. And of course, we don't stay at those areas. We stay at the interaction of the adjacent ecosystems. And this is the riparian area, because the area that they are preserving there, that they're preserving, is the delta of this river right there. So they do go to the river, they do see how the river flows, how the river affects the different flooding events, and how we can measure those using those instruments, get this good information, monitor how the river is doing, and of course, see the adjacent vegetation. And so you can see here at the back of the photo, if you can see, you get from the vegetation, you can see the last flooding that it took place a little bit, and the levee of the river as it goes up. They did have some problems there flooding, but because they're doing their best way to manage those sites, they're doing very well. So studying that, getting in there, getting the boots, this is fun for the students, but it's not just fun. Through fun, they can actually be educated and learn. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of willingness to actually get those students to be active and to be interested, because it's up to the educators to be interested. And as you can see from their faces, some of them they're interested, some of them they're not so interested. So ecology, but what else? Also, we do have this education. We don't take them only to this restricted area. We take them to Mount Olympus. Some of you might know them as the Mountain of Gods. This is what I have at the background. This is Mount Olympus, what I have in my photo. So they get into the woods of Mount Olympus. So they're trying to see the regeneration and a more sustainable ecosystem. You do have the intervention of the grazing. You do have the intervention of the human activity like timber and things like that. And from what we can see right there, regeneration seems to be doing very well. We have seed-derived seedlings at those sites, which is very important because seed-derived seedlings are going to give us the best wood possible for veneer, not just firewood. Okay, very important, because we usually in Greece we have forests for that we get wood from stump sprouts from the quercus. So they do get that experience, but nonetheless, we do have the urban settings. They need to see how those wilderness actually change into more managed areas and to highly managed areas. This is the Thessaloniki, one of the second biggest town in Greece. And you can see here finding, this artificial, highly artificial urban area at a White Tower. And then from all this experience, they can see the difference. And in the middle, you find the best possible outcome at Mount Olympus, where you do have all these quercus species coming and regenerating the sites, as opposed to the different sites, the highly extreme management and not allowing anybody to go there, the highly urban setting, how that really affects the outcome. Some of them, they might say, oh, this is obvious, this is what I expected. No, everybody can assume, everybody can say, but once you are there, you do make the students be interested, see what they need to see, and get the message right away. So let me reintroduce myself. Thank you very much, Kumar, for all this great introduction. Yes, the titles are very good, but we need to get, and this is a lot of work, more than 25 years of experience, and some photos really help about what we actually do at the UNESCO Con-E-Ect, that is dealing with conservation and ecotourism of riparian and deltaic ecosystems. Yes, I'm the director of the ecotourism sector, and I'm very happy to get involved in these all international projects as a consultant, as a senior researcher, and this is a great team of international researchers that is taking place, starting from the US, Europe, and we do also have from, it's Europe and Africa, this consortium right there. So the role of ecotourism, yes, it's very important. I usually do many presentations for ecotourism. I do highly believe that ecotourism is a useful tool to educate people worldwide, and how ecotourism can actually be used as an educational tool to show them how to prevent any possible faults when managing our ecosystems. So it's a powerful multidisciplinary tool. It's not just me, it's not just the agriculture, it's not just everybody needs actually to work together in order to be able to have this long-term sustainable management. Okay, it's not so easy, but it needs a lot of collaboration. And we all know when we're dealing with PhDs and people with so many years of experience, it's hard to collaborate. But once you really understand what's the overall benefit, then education and awareness are additional tools that they really boost up all this good information, and they get from the public to the high educational people, and they're aware. So yes, I'm also part of the Mediterranean experts on climate change. That was an event that it took place in prior COVID in Venice to set up the goals for 2030. I was very happy to be among those scientists. And of course, I'm also counsel at the International World Tourism Forum. Tourism is a good tool. It's a powerful tool. The third one, that it gives money to each country. So sometimes money doesn't really give us what we are after. So we have to sustainably manage those. It's very hard to keep profit a little bit into balance with what is the benefit for the natives and for the tourists as well. So what I was doing there is actually having people from all over the world coming together. I had from India, I had from Africa, from the US, from everything coming together on the table and talking about those issues, leading people, and usually leading people are the ones that they are helping with the laws and hopefully get things right. Board of directors, I'm very happy to show them some experiments that we're doing there because we're also doing experiments how to preserve water and actually increase the productivity. This is a part of the research. It's not just the board, but it's also the research that it needs to go out there. This is an action that is taking place all over Africa, and also locally for the Balkan area, also these beautiful women that they are coming together, having events and having some information regarding the climate change, getting students from all. We had here at this event, we had students from at least 10 countries. And they were students from 10 to 13 years old that they were able to communicate through English. I was really happy to be the leading partner of this action and informing them about proper transplant, about the alterations of the climate, how to prevent some mistakes, and regarding biodiversity, regeneration, and conservation. Great effort. Hopefully another one is coming up this year, and we will see how this is gonna come out. Publications, of course, conferences, things that we do, but sometimes they don't reach out very well for people. It's not easy to get them studied. Very helpful, but it's good. I've written many books. I don't know how many actually wrote those books. It's good for citations. And it's good for information. It does. It's part of the dissemination. The books right there, natural heritage, biodiversity, very good modules, and natural, for the World Heritage Sites for the UNESCO. This is also celebrating last year the 50 years of the conservation of all those ecosystems. Having all this wrapped up, it's very important to keep that in mind in order to educate, in order to sustain our ecosystems. And this needs to start from very young ages, not just university students, as I already showed you what we do in the class when we go outside, but also younger kids, starting from the 2-year-old, from kindergarten, from high school, any of this, before they reach the level of the university. And with this, I want to thank you very much. I'm open to any kind of questions. Please feel free to reach me through LinkedIn or my personal email. I think I have my personal email, or maybe the institution's email, I don't know. So hopefully we will all work together for the better off of the ecosystems and the preservation and conservation of biodiversity. Mediterranean ecosystems are really high at this really beauty and richness based on other ecosystems, but I'm sure worldwide, all ecosystems, even the most arid ones, have so much to give, and they are the hardest to preserve. Thank you.